Hello, and welcome to Rocket Fuel, your daily update of everything that's happening in the Rocket Pool community. My name is Wack. Today is July 25th, and today's episode is going to cover a whole lot of really exciting news. We're going to be talking about the ETH ETF. We are going to be talking about tokenomics stuff. There's a whole lot going on there, and we've got updates about a whole lot of other things as well, like NodeSet, Cryptomanufaktur, who's an ODA member, and lots more. So let's get started.
10, 9, ignition sequence start, 6.
Okay, so the big news right now, of course, as you all know, is the Ethereum spot ETF and spot ETH ETF. And what's going on with that? Well, this is the first episode in a few days, so apologies, but I'll just give a roundup of where we stand and give an update of where we are right now. So a few days ago, we got tweets and information coming out that the ETH ETF was ready to go live, and it would start trading on Tuesday, July 23rd, and everyone was really happy. And this is when we started getting bullish posts. So this one from Asxen, I have no idea how to pronounce that, ASXN, and they said that the ETH ETF is set to go live on July 23rd. Number of dynamics present within the ETH ETF that have been overlooked by the market and which were not present in the BTC ETF. So we'll take a look at the flow predictions, ETH unwinds, and the relative liquidity of ETH. So let me clarify what some of these things mean. So ETH is a product by Grayscale, and Grayscale basically have $10 billion of ETH under their management, and it's a whole lot of ETH. And the idea is that they have a shitty product and they charge really high fees, 2.5%, whereas others are charging 0.2%, so 10 times less in terms of fees, even less than that. Some of them are free right now. And the idea is that a whole lot of people are stuck in this product and they'll want to get out and they'll want to go to another ETF, or they just want to cash out and get away from Grayscale. Now that is where we stand, and with that in mind, here people were kind of trying to figure out what will happen, what won't happen. They were talking about how some of their AUM will go to their ETH ETF. The ticker is ETH, and that is their mini trust, and they have a much lower fee. And then there's a talk about flows and what that might look like, with information being that it might be $500 million a month, it might be up to $2 billion a month, and what that might look like in terms of flows, and kind of comparing it to different ETH products around the world and their relationship with the BTC products. So in terms of Hong Kong flows, what that might look like. And here they say that the relative AUM of BTC and ETH ETPs are overweight BTC versus ETH. The relative market cap sits at 75%, 25%, while the AUM sits at 85-15. So that says that, it skews more towards BTC. It says the ratio of BTC versus ETH in these ETPs is reasonably constant and in line with the ratio of BTC market cap to the ETH market cap in some other products. And then you can see what the flows look like. And it says looking at Europe, so that was Hong Kong, and then looking at Europe, they have a larger sample size, so there's a whole lot of crypto ETPs with 12 billion assets. And when they boil down the data, you'll see that in line with the market cap for Bitcoin and ETH, but Solana is over allocated relative to its market cap. So there's some interesting information there as well. And then you can have a look at how the discount works, and then they go on to say that their initial estimates are that there'll be around 800 million to 1.2 billion per month, and they took market cap weights basically to figure that out. And that's what it looks like. And then they talked about, how is this going to impact the price? So the idea is that ETH flows into ETH ETF, ETH price goes up, interest in ETH goes up, DeFi chain usage goes up, DeFi fundamental metrics improve, EIP 1559 burn increases, ETH supply goes down, which makes the price go up, which means more people want to buy into the ETH ETF, and so on. So it's like a virtuous cycle where activity begets price increase, which begets activity, which begets price increase, which of course is we want to see ETH price going up for fundamental reasons, not just based on speculation, right? And then there's more information here as well. So I'm not going to go through the whole tweet thread and read it all out to you, but there's some really interesting information in this thread. So definitely go and give that a read if you are interested in it. But then July 23rd came, which was a couple of days ago. I'm recording on July 25th, and we started getting flows. And actually, what happened last week was BTC was getting some really big flows, so that was something really interesting to see. And here the Bitcoin ETF flows were millions, hundreds of millions a day, which is pretty astonishing to see. That's really strong. So then, with the ETH ETF getting approved, the hype kind of started, and all the forums were in, and people started talking about it. We started getting Bitwise, BlackRock, all these different people getting information out about the ETF, which was really cool. A lot of people were talking about what it might do to the price. There was a whole lot of speculation, and people were just wondering what the flows would be, and what the price might increase to. So with the BTC ETF, I saw some chart saying that from the date the ETF went live, over the course of a couple of weeks, the price actually went down. But then once their grayscale BTC outflows diminished, at that point the market had much more confidence about buying into the BTC ETF, and then the price went up 92% over the course of the next few months. So people kind of looking at that. So here, it says some analysts predict that while the spot ETH ETF could move the price of the Ether up to 6,500, inflows into those funds won't nearly be as high for their Bitcoin focused counterparts. So the main thing that we wouldn't really see here is inflows relative to market cap, right? Like for ETH and BTC, and that's the kind of information that we want to be getting at here. So if we go and look at the Discord here, Fizz, then just as the ETFs are going to go live, he says delighted to share a POAP with everyone that you can buy. So let's have a look at the POAP, and the POAP is a checkout, so you can go and check it out, and that's what it looks like. It says the money will go to the Istus relay, and the POAP costs $3, and it looks like it's loading, so you can have a look. But let's see how many people have bought it already. So 466 people have bought this POAP. It's 0.001 ETH. I bought this POAP already, and it says the Ethereum spot ETF opens for trading in the US July 23rd, 2024. So you can buy this POAP right now. I think it's still available. The money goes to the Istus relay, and they're based out of the ETH finance community, and they're doing some good stuff with relay technology. So people are quite happy with that. And then we started getting news on the 23rd about what the volume of the trading is doing, and it looked like the volume was really strong on day one. But as always, the worry is that the volume is from outflows from ETH, which is the Grayscale product, and what's this going to mean for money actually coming in? Well, day one was actually a really strong day overall. So if we have a look, we can see that James Seyfarth here of Bloomberg says the first full day of flows for the ETHness stakes are in, and the Ethereum ETFs took in $107 million. So that's BlackRock's Ether led the way with 266 million, followed by Bitwise's ETHW, which has 204 million. So this was a very solid first day. When compared to Bitcoin's first day, that was around 650 million. I think it was something around that 450 million. The numbers worked out to be kind of in line with market caps. I think it was 23% of volume and 18 or 19% of flows, which was very solid. So everyone was kind of happy with this. The one thing that was to pay attention to was that the Grayscale Ethereum Trust, their outflows were $484 million. So that was a huge hit to the potential inflows, because a lot of the other ones had money coming into them, but it was people leaving the ETH product and going into other markets because they're so much cheaper. And then for yesterday, there was some flow data as well. So yesterday's flows actually ended up being negative 133 million. So this was not nice to see. But the reason for this is because ETH again lost $326 million. So I think it's a matter of just ripping off the band-aid with ETH and getting that done as soon as possible, and more of that AUM flowing to other products. And once that slows down, then we'll get that trickle of actual actual inflows. So yeah, minus $133 million sounds really bad. Overall over the first 2 days, it's negative flows, which is disappointing. But the ETH product is just an albatross that we need to get rid of, and I know it sucks, but the sooner we can get rid of that overhang, the better it is. Now, the thing to remember is this same thing happened with Bitcoin. I think people kind of forget how the pattern went, and they just remember that Bitcoin hit all new all-time highs in the months after the ETF, and they don't remember the fact that the price went down to begin with. That's something that we should really be paying attention to. And I know it sucks because there was so much hype around the ETF, and everyone's just like, oh, ETF equals price go up. But sadly, the reality wasn't that for Bitcoin, and the reality hasn't been that for ETH. I'm not going to spend too much time talking about the price action over the last day. The whole of the market's kind of just dumped, which is really unfortunate timing for ETH. And the day before, on the 23rd, is when the Mt. Gox payment started going out, so the market was kind of jittery about that too. But of course, those are just excuses. The reality is that the price action hasn't been what we wanted, but there's definitely something that a whole lot of people are going to be looking at over the next few days, and I'll be keeping an eye on it as well and letting you all know what's going on. But the price action has been quite sucky. And then talking about some ETFs, just wrapping it up, here James Seyfarth says the Hashdex has filed for the S1 for the crypto index ETF, and it's going to start with just Bitcoin and Ethereum, but once this is approved, eventually, once the S1 has been approved, then the way that it's written is they'll be able to add other products that are supported by the SEC has approved for spot ETFs. They'll be able to put this into here, and this is the product that I was telling you a few weeks ago that will be market cap weighted, which is really exciting because, like I said, market cap weighting will actually benefit ETH more than it will benefit BTC, just because we have there's more price sensitivity for ETH than there is for BTC. So hopefully buying that comes into the Hashdex ETF will end up driving the price of ETH more than BTC, which of course will be a virtuous cycle as well, because as the ETH price goes up, then the market cap relative to BTC goes up, which means the flows will shift, which means we'll get closer and closer to that flipping, which is of course absolutely exciting. So let's see what happens over the next few months, but there's a lot going on, which is really cool. Okay, moving on to some rocket pool news now. So the big rocket pool news of the last few days is the tokenomics rework, and people were waiting for the sentiment poll to come along. So Invis couldn't contain his excitement, and he did an official sentiment poll in trading, and said, which tokenomics rework are you supporting? And the Val one got 79% of the vote. The 1KX one got 1 vote, which is 3%. Evan, IB1 Gymnast got 1 vote, which was 3%. Do not do any rework got 0 votes, and 4 votes said abstain. So of course this is very limited. It's 29 people answered, so there's not much there. However, not too long after that, we got the official sentiment check. So this is the next step in the governance process. The sentiment polls just lets you know where the community stands, whether they want this to move to a vote. The discussion period has pretty much ended now. The RPIPs are set pretty much, just final edits left. But the sentiment, like as long as promising sentiment, then the RPIPs get their finishing touches, and then we can go to a vote. So this is really, really cool to see. Now, Long for Wisdom put out this post 2 days ago saying we're here to share an update about the tokenomics rework. Related threads on this topic can be found here. So there's like a tag with tokenomics rework, and you can see all the threads that are in the Discord. Sorry, not in the Discord, on the forum. So where are we at? So Long for Wisdom says the exciting news is that we're at a stage where we feel comfortable to start the official governance process on the RPIP 49 tokenomics rework. This has come after a period of outreach, seeking feedback from stakeholders, discussing alternative directions, and polishing the RPIP specifications. More information on this proposal can be found at RPL Rehab, which of course I've talked about many times on Rocket Fuel. It says this rework includes an informational overview in RPIP 49, as well as a number of RPIPs, that's 42 through 47, 59 and 60, used to specify the various aspects. So the sentiment poll here, Long for Wisdom says the headline item here is that we've posted a sentiment poll below where you can vote on whether to move RPIP 49 tokenomics rework to a snapshot vote. The snapshot vote would be a vote on the tokenomics rework package as a whole. This means you will be voting on the direction and general contents of the rework and the specific contents of the included RPIPs as written. Then there's some more information about that. You can go ahead and read that. Then there's some information here about 1KX proposal and Evan's proposal. I'm going to be talking about that a little bit later, and questions about like how you can help. And then there's the sentiment poll itself. So as of recording this, there have been 91 votes, which is an astonishing number of votes. It's the biggest number of votes that I've seen on a sentiment poll on the forum, which is amazing, and we're going to talk about that later as well, about why that's happened. But 98% of people who have taken part in the poll support this, and 2 people oppose this, with 0 people undecided. So this is actually really amazing that so much of the community has kind of understood what's happening, and kind of presented their position that they are happy with this going to a vote, and looking forward to this being the path forward. Now I'm going to come back to this in a second, but one of the reasons why there's been so much feedback for this, which is absolutely amazing, don't get me wrong, is that Schifrin has made a POAP for tokenomics rework sentiment. So he says the hardworking tokenomics folks have posted a sentiment poll where you can vote on whether to move RPIP 49 tokenomics rework to a snapshot vote, and then there's a link to the forum. And he says to get the POAP you have to do all of the following. So that is voting on the poll, posting a meaningful comment on the forum, and posting here. And he says the design is to come soon. So let's have a look at the forum again, and you can see that a whole lot of people have left supportive messages. So I was of course the first. When there's a POAP involved, you can always expect me to be there. I said this vote has been a long time coming, and I'm glad we're moving forward. I think this rework is going to be wonderful for Rocket Pool, and I'm excited about what's going to come. And then we had people like Lee, Category 5 Bread, who's Sneaky Ninja Guy, Ramana, MiG21, Neveran Island, Yorick, Valdorf, Long for Wisdom, EMP, 2B3, Halululo, Phils.eth, Bossy, Samus, Ethereum Bull was one of the people who voted no, which is interesting. Dr. Doofus, Ken, Quick Staker, and like a whole lot of people. I'm not going to read out all the names because there are 28 respondents. So I think there's a part of it that is about the POAP, but I think a whole lot of this is because the community has been waiting for the sentiment poll for a long time. There's been 28 replies, so those are people that kind of like POAP farming, like myself. But there's also been 91 votes, which is way above what people are doing just for the POAP. So I think that is really heartening to see that so many people are trying to do this in the right way and trying to support this happening. It's really cool. However, it should be known that there has been developments on the other proposals. One of the interesting things that's happened is Evan put out an official proposal. He kind of made it official by putting it on the forum. And the one that he talked on Rocket Fuel with myself and Samus, kind of bouncing ideas and presenting his ideas. There's a link to that you can go and click on and watch the episode where he kind of talks about his ideas. However, I'm going to spend too much time reading through it because you've already all watched the episode. But he talks about why he thinks Rocket Pool, how he thinks Rocket Pool should go, and his ideas basically are that all of the commission that the protocol earns should go to the node operator, and the way to get more node operators online is by reducing the RPL collateral amount to be 10% of node ETH instead of 10% of borrowed ETH as it currently is. And basically that huge reduction in RPL requirements will act as a way of reducing centralization risks with having ETH only validators, but it would also help Rocket Pool grow with node operators getting massively outsized returns in terms of ETH compared to what they would get now. And this is with LEBs, like lower LEBs, and he talks about how those kind of components come together and will give people like higher rewards. So this is actually it's really nice that Evan took the time to put this together, and you can read it all, like I said, but all of this was covered on the episode that we did with Evan. And I'll just read out what he says here to wrap it up. He says rocket pools should continue down the LEB path by lowering the ETH bond, maintain their 14% commission in order to make rocket pool node operators extremely attractive compared to Lido CSM, and change the RPL requirements to 10% of node operator bonded ETH. Val was the first to reply. He says, frankly, I like this proposal a lot, but as a patch, not as a long-term fix. I wish I had a thought to push through something like this last summer or fall. He said, I've said this a few times, it bears repeating that LEB structure was based on explicit beliefs, and we knew that they were wrong as of last summer, which is when we should have acted. So then Val actually goes on and gives more of an answer, but we also had people like Never and Island and Evan getting involved in in feedback as well, and continue the discussion. Cyberhorse said, I really like the relative simplicity of Evan's proposal, and then there was more back and forth with Valdorf, arguing points back and forth and how it's all going to work. Langers then got involved, saying, hey Evan, thank you for the proposal and opening this up to discussion. He said, I will evaluate this proposal as I did for the 1KX proposal. I'm going to talk about that next. He says the way that we want to talk about this is with competition, TVL principles, and RPL value. And he says, I'll do this for your rework proposal. So he says, with competition, this proposal lowers the ETH bond requirement for node operators to 4 ETH and then subsequently to 1.5 ETH. It keeps a 14% commission, giving all the yield to node operators. It lowers the RPL bond from 10% of borrowed ETH to 10% of bonded ETH. And he says, by lowering the ETH bond and giving all commission to node operators, this proposal competes with Lido's CSM on the ETH basis. The numbers I've seen put Lido's are 1.46 solo staking yield, and this proposal will deliver 1.98 solo staking yield. Crucially, the proposal still delivers a greater yield than Lido CSM, even when you take the RPL investment into account. So that's a pretty good start. He says Lido CSM supports ETH only, and here RPL would still be required. Consequently, there will be a greater friction in this regard. RPL is seen as a blocker for many potential node operators that want to become Rocket Pool node operators. Many of these prospective node operators would not stake with Rocket Pool if they had to stake any amount of RPL. By retaining the RPL bond, we may be non-competitive with Lido CSM, with highly aligned Ethereum node operators or larger players. He says, that said, this proposal does improve the situation that we have today by introducing ETH-denominated yield, where node operators profitability is less affected by RPL price swings, but the RPL bond is an obvious difference. He says with TVL, the proposal reduces the barrier from entry from 10.8 ETH per validator as it stands now to 4.4 ETH. He says this is certain to increase the node operator supply. By reducing the node operator bond, it increases capital efficiency. He says by principles, he said by returning the RPL collateral requirement, the proposal does provide a distinct disincentive for large corporations to capture Rocket Pool validator set. He said, I wouldn't say this is a robust mechanism though, and the proposal reduces that effect somewhat. As I raised in the 1KX feedback, I'll talk about that next. He says RPL value. He says this proposal reduces the amount of RPL required to be a node operator by at least 85%, and this proposal keeps RPL inflation at 5% and redistributes 70% of inflation to node operators for staking their RPL. He says by reducing the RPL requirement, this proposal cuts RPL's value proposition without improving or balancing it in another way. The idea is to increase the TVL will offset this reduction. From my calculations, our TVL would have to increase by at least 6x, but more closer to 16x. And that's beyond our self-limit, and that's to offset the effect. He says speculative demand may temper the values, but it's a lot of growth to only get us back to where we are today. This is before CSM. It could be argued that part of RPL's value was to access additional staking yield through commission. Post CSM, this is no longer the case. As I've said, RPL inflation rewards are mostly redistribution, so they are not as good as ETH rewards from commission. Inflation generally means liquidity providers have an inflation headwind to remain profitable, and so you get liquidity issues. Additionally, the RPL rewards on smaller bond amounts would be quite small and may not even offset gas to claim. I do believe that we should move away from RPL inflation awards to node operators. By returning RPL collateral requirements, this proposal does mean most node operators will be staking RPL and ideally engaged in governance. So then he gives his conclusion, which you guys can go read yourselves. But that's really cool that Langas has been interacting with these other proposals. I really like that. Now, I really want to spend a couple of minutes reading through Langas's proposal for the 1KX proposal. Now, 1KX proposal, I've talked about on Rocket Fuel before, so you guys can go back and watch those old episodes. But one of the things that sets aside the 1KX proposal is just how much they've been involved in discussions about their proposal, right? They've been answering forum posts. They've been involved in Discord, and they feel like they're in a position where they've got a good proposal, even though it probably needs some work to refine. And you can go back and watch that when I kind of talk about what their ideas are. The main thing that I wanted to cover in this episode, though, is Langas's feedback to this proposal, which I thought was very, very interesting. Now, there was some thought about the 1KX proposal being good for Rocket Pool, and it kind of having this way of getting RPL from people can borrow it, etc., and they can stake it on that behalf, and that way you need RPL, and there's ways of setting up those bonds and stuff. Well, Langas, let's actually read through his proposal and see what he says. So he says, "Thank you for the proposal. I think it's important we explore all viewpoints, and I appreciate you raising the centralization concern." So that's about ETH-only validators being more centralizing, because big entities can just come and stake with Rocket Pool and get boosted rewards instead of solo staking. So he says, ultimately, this is what makes Rocket Pool stronger, by having the hard conversations. So he said, "I'm going to focus on the 1KX proposal rather than criticism raised against the rework proposal." So their proposal kind of had these two aspects. About one is criticizing the rework, but the second one being their own proposal, right? Like what they think is better. So here he like with the Evans proposal, he focuses on RPL value, competition, TVL growth, and principles. So in terms of RPL value, he says this proposal retains RPL's current value propositions and augments it. To grow as a protocol, RPL would need to be staked linearly with TVL. By decoupling node operators, ETH providers, and RPL delegators, it increases the supply side market. It also augments RPL value by using the delegate share to provide an ETH return for RPL delegators, and adds buy pressure from the protocol. He said, "I do have some concern that protocol will end up buying a lot of its own token due to under-collateralized nodes. If RPL earns decent yield within the protocol without running a node, we may exacerbate the liquidity issues that currently exist." He said, "I'm not sure how RPL works as a governance token with delegation by default." Then he says, with competition, with this proposal, a node operator would not have to stake RPL for their first N validators, but would subsequently require 10% of borrowed ETH collateral in RPL to launch validators, either through providing it themselves or seeking delegation. He says, so for node operators with less than N validators, we would be offering ETH-only node staking, but larger operators will still have the RPL requirement. He says, I believe that seeking RPL delegation would add considerable friction that Lido's CSM does not have. I like the fact that we are prioritizing small node operators, but I do worry that a considerable amount of our TVL comes from individual node operators that have a large amount of ETH. This may be consequence of trade-off, but we would be uncompetitive in this space. These node operators would favor Lido and contribute considerably to increasing their TVL. I guess it would depend on the value of N. He says, as you mentioned, the free collateral mechanism is gameable, so it would depend on the trade-off between holding 10% borrowed ETH collateral in RPL and the bond curve returns. It would be good to see analysis on this. My intuition says that a significant number of node operators would rather game the system and have marginally less yield. He says the proposal allows node operators to set their own commission rate, so in theory they could set the commission rate higher than they would receive from Lido. In practice, they will have to compete with other node operators to attract RPL delegation. The design intentionally minimizes the node commission, which is great for our ETH, but means our node commission may be non-competitive compared to Lido. The worst case is that we end up in a race to the bottom and we price out node operator supply, particularly individual home stakers. I like the idea that market dynamics can find an equilibrium, but practically we have to compete on both sides of our market. I tend to agree that lower commission rate favors centralized operators with low cost base. This could be solved using minimum commission rates, but you weaken the RPL delegation mechanism somewhat. He says for the free collateral node operators, it looks like the recollateralization amount comes out of their node commission. Is that right? He said, I agree with the previous proposal that our ETH yield has not been discussed enough and should form part of the future vision. Then with the TVL growth, he says, as you said, our TVL currently is constrained because we find it hard enough to have technical node operators that have ETH and hold RPL. This proposal breaks that link and means those providing ETH and RPL could be separate parties. Currently supplying RPL to a node is not trustless, but there are potential solutions on the horizon that can help in that regard. It's a proposal decouples parties providing each of the collateral, but it doesn't decouple RPL from the protocol by design. In the proposal, TVL would be defined and limited by the game theory between node operators and RPL delegators. Node operators may have more ETH to stake, but are unable to attract delegation, causing TVL to stall. He says, although I would love to think that everyone that holds RPL is aligned, RPL can be bought on the market and used as mercenary capital, especially if there's attracting good yield. Mercenary capital is a flight risk that can make our ability to scale less predictable. He says fluctuations in the RPL price will continue to affect the protocol TVL adversely because of the 10% borrowed ETH collateral ratio. Low RPL prices push many people under the 10% ratio, so they cannot deploy more ETH unless they can attract RPL delegation, driving down the commissions and potentially losing node operators. So he says, in terms of principles, when we first designed Rocket Pool, we considered delegated staking on the ETH side. The issue with delegation that it ends up relying on identity. We've seen in our own delegate voting systems that delegations are attracted to known entities only. This is even more true when the decision is financial, capital at risk or yield on the table. We choose to distribute stake across the network to avoid centralizing a stake on known entities. This is extremely important to ensure the protocol is permissionless and open. It goes on to say delegated RPL would end up centralizing stake or known probably doxed entities and would disadvantage small anonymous node operators. As others have said, even if the PDAO was the delegate of last resort, we would not be able to tell the difference between a small operator and a large operator spread across many nodes. He says, I do think the delegation will help us scale, but I don't believe it should be at the base layer. I think it's better that the base layer stay as permissionless as possible and delegation is achieved higher in the stack with products such as NodeSet or Rocket Lend. This is by retaining the RPL collateral requirement. The proposal does provide a disincentive for centralizing entities to capture the Rocket Pool validator set. I wouldn't say that it's a robust mechanism though, because it would still be very possible. In fact, if you do not decouple RPL as collateral, it ends up being worse. A centralized entity could capture the validator set and by default governance. And this is in conclusion, thank you for proposing a solution that tries to retain RPL as collateral. I do think it's a good exercise. I've also tried to see how we can maintain that consistency. But if I'm honest, I keep hitting the same brick walls. This proposal is well thought out solution, but frankly, the core delegation system I don't see helping us compete or stay permissionless. I'll be happy to hear your feedback and correct me. It's my opinion that RPL as collateral does not allow Rocket Pool to compete or to scale. Removing RPL as collateral is calculated risk. I'm under no illusions. Rocket Pool will likely attract very large node operators. Some of them may be centralized entities. What is important is that we lower the barrier to entry for individual operators and remain permissionless. By doing this, we attract a long tail of node operators that will ensure Ethereum is permissionless, open, and credibly neutral. So I thought this was a wonderful response, and it really puts the team's position of what should happen next front and center. And I don't want to put words into Langer's mouth, so this is my speculation only, but I really do think that some of those sentences that Langer's used there makes it think that they want there to be the permissionless node operation with ETH only, and any kind of barriers that we put to that will just have adverse effects down the stack, which is very interesting. I like that he wants things to be happening at the higher end of the stack with like NodeSet and Rocket Lend. Hopefully we'll be getting some really good Rocket Lend news maybe early next week. That's a little bit of alpha for you all. Maybe I shouldn't have said that, but don't tell anyone. Anyway, there's some interesting stuff happening that I think will help in the short term with Rocket Pool getting TVL. And then in the long term, I think that the proposal that I voted for is Val and Samus and the other core contributors, their work, and that's the one that I'm most excited about. Mike then responded to Noshua and some others, but as far as I know, Mike has not responded to Langer's yet. Let me just check if that has happened yet. No, that hasn't happened yet. So there's been 6 days since Langer's made that post, and so far Mike, from 1KX has not responded to Langer's, and I don't think Mike has been around too much these last few days to provide feedback. So that is definitely, okay. I'm going to try to be as tactful as possible saying this, but I might put my foot in my mouth. So I'm sorry if I do that, sorry. But I think what's happened is Mike and Evan's proposals came too late. And by then, the majority of the community had already kind of banded around Val and Samus's ideas, and those were the ideas that had been mobilized most strongly. I think the team has been spending a lot of time thinking about Val and Samus's ideas as well. And the fact of the matter is that those ideas are so mature now because they've literally had hundreds of people providing feedback, asking questions, and those ideas have been tested by fire, and they've gotten stronger and stronger, right, with all those questions, and they've been refined more and more. And I think the position that we stand in right now is that's the thing that's going to go forward. Now, what does that mean for the protocol? Well, that is to be decided, but we have things hopefully coming up soon that can help Rocket Pool in the immediate term. It looks like there might be some tweaks that we can make to the protocol to help in the immediate term as well, before Saturn 1 officially comes, maybe a very, very light upgrade to the protocol that will just tweak some parameters potentially that might make node operating a little bit more attractive. And then with Saturn, I think that's when the really good stuff is going to happen, and that might be 9 months away, potentially up to a year away, but I'm hoping not. But I'm really hoping that the stuff that we've got coming before then will help Rocket Pool grow TVL, and there'll be some really good things happening. But yeah, I think the reality is that 1KX, Evan, and even to some extent NodeSet's feedback a few months ago, all of that came too late in the cycle, and wasn't consistent enough. And I think Mike has done a good job of trying to present his and 1KX's ideas, but like Val said, if these ideas had come 6 months ago, it would have been much better for everyone, and everything could have kind of potentially been merged into one, instead of there being these distinct ideas and the way that is now. Sadly, it doesn't look like Evans or 1KX's ideas are refined enough to the point where they can go to a sentiment poll to be included on a snapshot. So it won't be the case where the community has options, maybe. And again, this is just my own speculation, but I think what will happen is it'll just be the Val, Samus and others whose idea will go to snapshot vote, and then that's what the community will decide on. And the way things look right now, I think the majority of the community will vote in favor of that proposal. Now, I'm really curious to see how things will work with there being some kind of whale / regular user, smaller operator split, and whether that's going to change things. But the way things stand right now, I think it's going to be a pretty straightforward vote. But you never know, what dramas might or might not emerge. Now, I'm hoping that, the community can kind of see the writing on the wall, and that's, small operators and bigger node operators. They can see the writing on the wall, and they'll just back the tokenomics change and understand that there's risks, but also understand that Rocket Pool has stagnated, and, we're getting smaller while other staking protocols are getting bigger. And I don't think this is a Hail Mary attempt or anything like that. This is a very, very well thought out, well researched, well explained proposal that is risky, definitely. Nothing is without risks when it comes to a protocol change of this size. However, it has the best possible framework to help Rocket Pool grow. And the fact is that other ideas have shortcomings that this one just doesn't. It has other shortcomings, the centralization aspect of it, but the reality is that that's just the way things are, and you have to take risks in one place or another. and it looks like the community is choosing more to take the risks with Val and Samus's proposal than it is from, you know, the 1KX proposal, Evan's proposal, or even some of the NodeSet ideas. So that's where we stand right now. I know there was a whole lot of information that I just dumped on you all. So if you have questions, like, ask me and I'll try to answer them in the next episode. But it looks like, you know, there's finally progress happening, and maybe we'll be going to Snapshot Vote in the next few weeks. So that is going to be something interesting to look out for. If you are a node operator with Rocket Pool, and if you haven't initialized your voting power yet, please go and do that as soon as possible. You know, we need to hit those numbers and those thresholds before we can vote. So we need that to happen as soon as possible. So please make that happen. Okay, moving on. Jasper put out a call yesterday here and tagging some of the community members like Ken, Ramana, and Noshua, saying if anyone here or tag wants to join a chat on pre-confirmations for Rocket Pool. It's a chat with a private team. So Samus said, I'd like to join out of curiosity, but I don't think I'd be able to help from a dev side. And then Jasper said, you know, if anyone's interested, just let me know. So Ramana said that they'd like to join, and Paladin said that they'd like to join as well. So if you are interested in taking part in, you know, some ideas about pre-confirmations, reach out to Jasper. And, you know, if you are kind of like a researchy person, then there might be some interesting ideas that are bounced around in that chat. I don't know any details other than what I've seen here, so I can't give you any like insider information, but it looks like that's going to be pretty exciting. Okay, I've been giving a lot of coverage to Flat Money recently, and again, you know, they're putting out Rocket Pool related tweets. So they said, in collaboration with the Rocket Pool's Grant Management Committee, we are excited to announce the Rocket Pool On-Chain Summer Builders Program on Base. So it says the GMC is distributing $3,000 in RPL to individuals and teams on Base, and you can learn more. So here they've got a program. Then the idea is, you know, you get working on Base, and if you build within, like, you know, using our ETH or Rocket Pool, you can get some money. And some of the things here are that, you know, you integrate Rocket Pool's ETH into your protocol, you promote awareness about Rocket Pool and our ETH DeFi ecosystem on Base with your applications, and you educate users in the Base ecosystem about the benefits of solo staking with Rocket Pool and creating an easier path to onboarding ETH into Rocket Pool from the Base ecosystem. So if you can do some of those things, you can fill out a Google form and you might get a share of money, which is actually really, really cool to see. So Flat Money guys are doing some really cool things. So if you're interested in finding out more about Flat Money, go and check out their tweet. Okay, Ramana here got a proposal, and there was a bit of a bug. So he says, I think I need to file a bug report with Loadstar, but also would like to figure out which relay and builder is responsible for the invalid block and passing it on to see if they'll compensate. Anyone have experience with that? Looks like the Loadstar bug may not have to do with dodgy relay builder after all. So that was a little bit of an edit. And then what happened is Ramana here shared a transaction, and it was Ramana getting $142, which was 0.04492 ETH. I think it was a little bit more a few days ago, but the price has come down since then. I think what happened is Ramana missed a proposal, and because of that, like, there was an issue. And here NFLAIG, I'm not going to try to pronounce that, it's working with Loadstar. I think it says we've released a fix for anyone that is running Loadstar BN with Nimbus or Lighthouse VC and no fallback nodes. It says I would suggest an update, only relevant if you use MEV boost. So it looks like Loadstar found the issue quite quickly and was able to pay Ramana the cost that he missed out on, and hopefully it won't be an issue anymore. So congrats Ramana on your proposal, I guess. Okay, next we are going to move on to some other staking news, and this is interesting staking news because it kind of overlaps with the Rocket Pool community. So here there's the tweet saying Justin Galaxy buys $1 billion in Ethereum assets under stake from node operator Cryptomanufaktur to expand its staking portfolio. So you know, there's a couple of things that you might be thinking here, like did Cryptomanufaktur have $1 billion? Like, what's going on here? What's happening? Well, there were a lot of questions in the community, in Rocket Pool community, because Cryptomanufaktur, of course, is a company run by Yorick, and it is an ODAO member on the Rocket Pool ODAO, and it also is a Lido node operator, and like I think a Stader node operator, and a whole bunch of others. So the question is like, what's going on over here? So Halulo said, what does this mean? Did they somehow buy the rights to take over the Lido stake? Now Yorick popped in a little while later, and he said, Lido, like it's Lido stake, nothing has changed there. And then he says it's just Galaxy counting Lido validators that run on our infrastructure. He says, I'd like it to be 1 billion acquisition target, but alas, about 1 billion short. So what's happening here is that Jasper said, so they're taking over your stake, and Yorick said it's correct. So he says it's an asset acquisition. They got the infrastructure and the employees and the services we run. Thank you. So Jasper says that's a huge accomplishment. Did you ever expect to be selling a company with 1 billion assets? And he says, well, that's an odd way of counting, to be honest. He says, but I get that Galaxy counts a specific way for shareholders, and that has nothing to do with how the techies might count. But he says, maybe we can do a true up payout to Yorick equals max acquisition payment, AUS counted. But basically what's happened is that Galaxy have purchased the Cryptomanufaktur brand, and they get the infrastructure and the employees and the services. So it's not necessarily that the assets, they're not taking control of the assets, but they are, however, taking control over the assets under management, in terms of getting the income from that, from Lido, etc. Please correct me if I'm mistaken about that. And then I asked Yorick, I said, Yorick, will you also be selling your ODAO seat, or will you keep that? So basically ODAO members get, a smaller and smaller share of inflation, but they still do get some income every month from being an ODAO member. Yorick actually was kind enough to answer. He says, who actually has that seat? Is it Cryptomanufaktur, the company? Is it Yorick, the individual? And he says it makes sense to have a discussion on whether to have the seat transfer. This is an acqui-hire, so they acquired the company, but they also hired all the staff at the same time. So he says, I'll make a case that in case it does make sense. I've been engaged, including doing a check of contract upgrades, arguably the most important function of the ODAO, and I'll continue to be involved. And he says how this looks in 2 years' time when they step away is a discussion for then, I think. So Halulu said, not counting against you at all, but would probably need an active swap with name URL change. So remove the Cryptomanufaktur from the ODAO and put in Yorick instead. And he says, I leave a proposal for CMF and joint proposal for Galaxy. Yeah, that might be the way it goes. But that will, I think, be interesting to see how that plays out. But yeah, congrats to Yorick. That is really cool. I know Yorick has been going through some life stuff recently, moving continents, etc. So this is wonderful for Yorick, and huge congrats goes out to Yorick. He's a really, really cool guy. I'm really happy for him. Okay, next we got an update from the NodeSet Discord here, and this is Joe saying he's sprinting a marathon at the moment, and basically what he's working on is getting all the Constellation stuff set up in the Hyperdrive software. So Hyperdrive, of course, is NodeSet's version of the smart node, and the Constellation is their interface with Rocket Pool, that they'll be doing the node operation for Rocket Pool validators through Constellation add-on to Hyperdrive. So that is what Joe is working on really hard right now. So yeah, Joe's doing a huge sprint on that, and he says he's got some information here saying that even Dave is badgering me about when Constellation. So I think we all want Constellation to have launched yesterday. Of course, things take a little bit longer than we want. As far as I know, the audits haven't started yet, and it'll take about 3 months as the best case scenario from audit starting to the product being live, potentially a little bit longer. If we go with the idea that the audits will take 6 weeks and then there's 0 major bugs found, in that case, the information will go back to the community, and then they can test it for about 6 weeks as well before the protocol goes live. That, of course, is the best case scenario. There's a realistic expectation that that could all extend out to 6 months potentially, with there being back and forth with the auditing firms, and them saying you need to change this, you need to change that. NodeSet guys going away and changing the things, making fixes, etc., doing design tweaks, etc., and then there being a bit back and forth, that taking 3 to 4 months instead of 6 weeks, and then with the community 4 weeks of testing potentially. There might be a bug or two found, then that would have to go back to the audit place. Like, all of this adds up really fast. So sadly it seems like Constellation's some ways away, and that is disappointing, but that's just the reality of the situation. So as soon as I get more information on how things are going here, I will definitely let you all know. But Joe is working extremely hard on getting Constellation out of the door, and I'm really happy that Joe's working on it, and I'm hoping that he does his part and the rest of the team gets all their stuff done, and then Constellation comes online as soon as possible. Okay, next we got an update from Butter here about the Beaconchain website version 2, and he says we just released a significant improvement to the version 2 beta, so now you can monitor the amount of offline and online validators. You get a status column that notifies you about important duties such as sync committees. He says added average network efficiency to spot underperforming setups, etc. And then he says I'd like a higher salary for this work, please. So Butter, of course, is on the ODAO, so he gets some money from there, even though he doesn't think it's much or enough. And then, of course, he's, I think, a co-founder of the Beaconchain website. So good stuff, Butter. Keep up the hard work. And, of course, we love to see the Rocket Pool integrations on the Beaconchain website. Okay, moving on to some Ethereum news now. And I know we talked about the ETF. That's the big topic in Ethereum land. But here, Justin Drake said that it's the 10th anniversary of the ICO for Ethereum. And back then, 1 BTC could get you 2,000 ETH. And that has now gone down to I think it being 20 ETH or somewhere thereabouts, getting 1 BTC getting you 20 ETH, so it's 100 times difference in terms of price, which is some huge outperformance. So getting in on those early days of the ICO, I think, was the money making plan, but it's really amazing that it's been 10 years now. That was before my time. I joined Ethereum in the crypto space a few years later, but if I'd gotten in on the ICO, that would have been the ticket to generational wealth, basically. Even just with 1 BTC, which was about $600 at the time, getting 2,000 ETH, which would be millions of dollars right now. So congrats to everyone who did that at that time. That's really great. But yeah, 10 years. Of course, it depends on how you kind of count the launch of Ethereum. I think the count is from the Genesis block, but that happened a while later. But this is still really, really awesome stuff. So it's nice that it's been 10 years. Like, time in crypto moves really slowly, but also really quickly. Okay, we've got some Ethereum here. There's a post from Ethereum Stories, and these guys are making a film, ethereumfilm.xyz, and they have a full trailer out now. So if they have 3 years of filming with 28 cities, 15 countries, and the official title of the documentary is Vitalik, an Ethereum story, and they're running mints for POAPs, etc. So I think that will lock tomorrow from when I'm recording, so you've got a little bit of time still to get this. This is be part of history to revolutionize how films are financed, distributed, and experienced. So if you want to watch the trailer, the full trailer is on their website. There's a snippet of a trailer that you can see on their tweet, but yeah, this is actually really, really awesome stuff. Huge congrats. It's something that I'm really excited about watching. So I'll definitely let you all know when that movie is out, so you can give it a watch as well. Paul Lansky here has a tweet about solo stakers and to get better rewards. Now, those of you in the Rocket Pool community already know about the smoothing pool. Well, here, they're talking about the benefits of smoothing pools for solo stakers and how the median node operator can actually end up earning way more than if they were just solo staking. I think the way Ken showed the numbers was, 95% of people will earn more money by being part of a smoothing pool, and 5% of people would lose money as being part of a smoothing pool. So the chances are that, you know, you could get in on the smoothing pool, you'd get expected and predictable rewards. And if you are interested about how, you know, Paul Lansky thinks it works, definitely go and check out this tweet thread where they kind of run through some information about how it works. But, you know, I've been a member of the smoothing pool. I love the smoothing pool. I think it's a great product, and one of the things that really set Rocket Pool apart, you know, a couple of years ago. Now it's something that's happening in different places, but at the time it was really great. And, you know, we still have the majority of Rocket Pool node operators use the smoothing pool. The majority of Rocket Pool's validators are on the smoothing pool, so it's really cool to see. Okay, another product that I really love is POAP, and you all know that, you know, I'll do anything for POAP for pretty much. But here there's a POAP Global app that I've talked about on Rocket Fuel a couple of times, and they have got a new building challenge out, so introducing the final 30 days of building POAP Global. So they're getting really close to their launch, and they're tweaking some stuff now, and they want you to be involved in that. So I said, after months of hard work, we're almost there. Join us on Webcast for exclusive updates and behind the scenes look as we get ready to launch. And says there might be some cool perks, so go to the Webcast link for here. And they said that, you know, starting next week, we'll be sharing every moment of this final stretch with you on Webcast. From those cringeworthy bugs to tough design decisions, we'll get an insider's look at what makes POAP Global a reality. So the way that this works is, you know, there'll be different places around the world, and there'll be POAP set up with those places. And as you visit that place, you'll be able to create you'll be able to mint a POAP from that place, and it kind of uses a mixture of geolocation. You know, you have to be in the place at the time, and you also have like take a photo of you in front of that place or doing something in relation to that place, and it's actually really cool. Like, it's something that I'm really excited about, and they actually are already building up followers on Webcaster, on Farcaster. So if you are interested, you know, get involved in their updates, you can go to warpcast.com/POAP Global, and here you'll see that they're putting out tweets every day. So get involved. It's a really cool project. I was hoping to use it while I was on location and drop some POAPs. Sadly, my vacation has been a bit of a disaster, so I haven't been able to do that, which I'm really disappointed about. But hopefully, you know, when I'm back home, I'll visit some cool places and try to drop some POAPs in those places for you to all mint whenever you visit those locations. Okay, and finally we're going to go back to the Discord for some other news. The first bit is that Joe Biden is dropping out of the race to be president in the next political term, you know, with the election in November this year. This was, you know, landmark news, like it was monumental. We kind of expected it to happen, but people were unsure about how it was going to go. And in doing so, Joe Biden has endorsed Kamala Harris to be the Democratic Party's presidential nominee. So that will be, you know, Kamala's already been kind of campaigning. That will be made official at the convention, which takes place very soon. But it looks like that's the ticket, right? It's going to be Kamala Harris versus Donald Trump. And Kamala has still not picked a running mate. Donald Trump, of course, has picked JD Vance, who crypto bros seem to really like. It's really interesting just how the narratives are shifting and how it's all working out. And, like, you know, there's a lot of emphasis on how this will impact crypto. Well, with Joe kind of bowing out, the crypto prices did come down a little bit because it adds more uncertainty to the markets. I'm not here to talk about, you know, which candidates you should or shouldn't vote for. Of course, you all know my opinions if you see what I think on Discord or on Twitter. But I thought I would cover that for you all. And as that impacts crypto, I'll definitely let you all know. Like, you know, a couple of days ago there was this rumor going around that Kamala would be speaking at the Bitcoin conference like Donald Trump is, like RFK Jr. is. The idea was that, you know, all three candidates would talk about crypto at this conference. You know, that would be monumental, but it looks like that was unfounded rumor, or it didn't quite work out. However, there's already been, like, you know, reports coming out of the Harris camp that she's willing to reevaluate the Democratic Party position on crypto. and Mark Cuban kind of put out some information that she's been asking him questions about it. And of course, he was a huge crypto proponent during the previous bull market, and has kind of stayed engaged in the space since then, and does champion crypto. So there's some interesting developments going on there, from a crypto perspective. But there's a whole lot of speculation going on about how this is going to work out in terms of the election results. Donald Trump is going to win, not win. With this assassination attempt, it looked like it was going to be locked in, but now things are back. There's doubts again. But I'm not going to get into the politics of it. Of course, you guys know that I try to avoid talking about that on Rocket Fuel. And finally, I'm going to end today's episode with this update from Find Your Moon, the person who manages the Elliott Waves thread. And Moon here said that, "Team, tomorrow marks the 2-year anniversary of this thread. I want to thank you all who have come and gone and still around, adding to a healthy and humorous discord about our crazy ass markets and geopolitical catalysts." He said, "Have had an absolute blast hanging out with everyone and watching you all learn and teach each other the ways of the shamanism and waves." He says, "I know that I haven't been posting many updates lately, but I've decided to adopt to the times. Nowadays, BTC and ETH have slowed significantly in their daily movements. They look and feel a whole lot more like traditional assets than ever before, and with that, my reporting approach should change as well. Short of those of you who are day trading, let me know if anyone still is. The microwave structure doesn't do us much good lately and actually gets us overexcited about 2% pump when it's just another move up." He says, "I'm trying to find a bit more regular cadence for your updates, and that'll be coming soon." So yeah, definitely check out this post from Moon. But yeah, huge congrats goes to Moon for this, and I'm a huge supporter of Moon and this thread, and it just reminds me about how close I'm coming to my own anniversary with Rocket Fuel. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to wrap up this episode now because it's been going on for an hour. So thank you all for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. I hope you all have enjoyed this episode. I'm sorry that I'm not recording episodes as frequently as I thought I would be. Hopefully, over the next couple of weeks, I might be able to get back to a more regular cadence. It's just things on vacation have been vacationy, and I haven't been able to manage my time well enough to get episodes out. But I will see you all tomorrow, or hopefully very soon, and yeah, I'll get more information to you soon. So thanks for watching, listening, and being part of the Rocket Fuel community. Thank you also to Samus for stepping in when I couldn't help on the weekly orbit this week. That was a really great episode for those of you who didn't watch it, and I will see you all soon. Bye.